6 o'clock. I hereby call our City Council meeting to order for March 9th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you. Linda, roll call.
Okay, Councilmember Bauman.
Here.
Councilmember Connolly.
Here.
Councilmember Rife.
Present.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Here.
And Mayor Sierra.
Here. Thank you very much. Do we have any reordering of the agenda tonight?
No, ma'am.
That's easy. Public comments. I have one speaker slip for agenda item number 4. This public comments is for any item anybody wants to talk about, whether it's an agenda item or not. You've got 3 minutes. And Fenn, I see you standing right there. Why don't you start it out?
Well, I read here under item 4 that you are planning a 3-hour parking limit.
Okay, you can either talk now or you can wait until we get to that item.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay. Thank you.
About 4 minutes.
Any other public comments? I'm closing down public comments. Moving on to the consent calendar. We have two items on our consent calendar: the minutes of February 23rd, 2017 regular City Council meeting, and list of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date for fiscal year 2016-17.
I make a motion to approve items 1 and 2 on the consent calendar.
Second.
All righty, Linda?
All right, Councilmember Bauman.
Aye.
Councilmember Connolly.
Aye.
Councilmember Rife.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye, thank you very much. Any presentations tonight?
No, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Moving on to public hearings. Agenda item number 3, resolution number 17-01, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, adopting the Measure A 5-year local program of projects for fiscal years 2017-18 through 2021-22. Ms. Hess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Member City Council. So this is our annual report and public hearing for how we plan to expend our local Measure A funds. If you look at Exhibit A to the resolution, that'll provide you the breakdown of the funds and how we plan to use it. We use it for primarily to supplement our road maintenance projects, our annual road maintenance projects, and we also use it to fund our transit requirements, and also we have an annual allocation which we've been starting a couple of years ago to build up our bike and trails fund. I believe that's $10,000. So the revenues have decreased just a hair from the last year's estimates going forward, but we still expect to receive over $300,000 every year for the next 5 years. Again, referring back to the exhibit, we have an alternative transportation requirement, as all of the agencies do. Our requirement is to provide at minimum 5% of our local Measure A funds towards transit and bike and ped improvements. And you'll see that with our expenditures that we've provided over the years, we're providing greater than that at 16%. So we're well within our compliance requirements. So with that, I'm available to answer any questions, and staff recommends that you open the public hearing, receive any responses and inquiries and requests, and then approve Resolution 17-01.
All righty. First of all, are there any questions for Rose? Go ahead, Foster.
So I'm pretty familiar with the master plan, but I don't think in there's necessarily phases for essentially what's going to be prioritized for expenditures for the $10,000.
Correct.
I'm sure you've thought about this question. So is this going to be at the Planning Commission or at the council, or just essentially at the staff discretion of prioritization of expenditure? Or
Well, we don't have any plans at this point to just expend these funds. So it's going to be at the pleasure of the council as far as what projects you decide we want to move forward with. It's any project that is bike or pedestrian related would be eligible to use these funds that we're starting to accumulate. It doesn't have to be any project in particular at this point, but we're setting that aside right now.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just but we're still talking about it. You have it encumbered for this fiscal year, though, so what I'm trying to get at is,
It's not dedicated to a particular project. We're putting it away in a bike and ped fund.
yeah, I get it. So what I'm trying to get at is how do we move the boat along?
That would be through city council. So let's say we obtain some more easements, or we work with a property owner for the river trail. Let's say they're ready to go, and they're going to construct a portion of it. Well, we have portions on city property that we would need to construct, so we could then encumber the funds to go along with that. So between the developers, property owners, and the city, we would be able to fund a trail. But it would be up to the city council to decide, once we get to that point and ready for construction, where that money's used.
Okay, so, copy. I mean, I feeling what I'm trying to get is I think everyone's probably going to accept the plan as you have laid out. So I'm just trying to, what's the next step so we can actually get something on the ground moving on this project that I've been talking about since I moved here 8 years ago?
The next step is we have a couple projects moving forward along the river that are going to partner with us for the trail. They're going to provide the easements.
Perfect.
So once that starts, then we'll be able to actually physically have something ready to start with, and then we bring that up back as an item for the council. So hopefully that'll occur within the next year.
Okay, so on that notice, that sounds like that'll align most of the master plan. And I'm sorry I'm belaboring this topic, but would we want to then maybe reallocate more money toward this fiscal year rather than waiting?
Well,
And I'm not trying to jump the gun, Mark.
Not through this particular one, but when we have our budget process coming forward, we can encumber more general fund money towards that particular, because there's certain formulas for the rest of the Measure A funding, correct?
Right. And we bring this to you annually, so it's just an estimate for the future years. In all likelihood, we're not going to be constructing or be able to actually expend any monies on this, a river trail in the next fiscal year either. But, so when we bring this back and we have a little better idea on what costs would be, instead of just bumping it up, X amount of dollars, we're going to be able to come back with the next year's program of projects, and at that time we can allocate more if need be.
Yeah, I get it. What I'm trying to get at, though, is I would rather not expend general fund money if we have Measure A allocated money. And if we can take a few fiscal years to allocate toward this fiscal year's expenditure, if we know the stars are going to align to actually start a project, then I would rather do that than have to expend general fund money waiting for next year's Measure A money. You see what I'm getting at?
Yes. So you can, if you...
So we can amend it later? Can we amend it in 6 months from now if the stars align?
We can expend more, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do that.
Thanks.
I had a quick one, too. I've had a couple of people ask me the same questions. Why is there only $10,000 for the walking trails, the bike lanes? And I explained to them that my priority was our street safety first, and then we are in a contract with the San Ynez Transit with Solvang. Those are the two priorities. If we don't put out that much money for the streets, if there's a cost savings there somehow, could that money be put back into the bike lane? Or does that have to stay in the street?
It would stay in the street right now at this point. We could reallocate it.
And then next year we could allocate it.
Right, because
But-
there'll still be the savings carried over in the budget.
Okay.
And then we can allocate it next year.
So we are authorizing this year, that's in concrete, and then next year when it comes back, we can fiddle with the numbers a little
Yes.
if we have an opportunity.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
I had a comment.
We're going to go ahead. Questions,
Question.
public, and then comments afterwards.
Yes.
But
Why the
you do have a
question
question? Go ahead.
If there were 2018-19, we had an opportunity, someone offered us some time frame of a need for $500,000. We have $350,000. If we decide to go with that, are we able to go, do we have to wait till 2019 to backfill the other $150,000, or are we able to pre-borrow our money? I don't think they give us the money in advance, but we can designate, we take it from general fund and then backfill it with the allocation? Are we allowed to do that?
I would have to double check. I don't know if we're
Okay.
allowed to borrow into the future for it.
Or just not necessarily borrow, but to dedicate it so that we take the money out of the general fund and put it back in the general fund instead of leaving it forever out of the general fund? That,
I know we cannot, council can authorize using the general fund money for pretty much anything
I understand
like that. However, once the money comes from Measure A, it may not be possible for that to go into general fund. That they're very careful on that. I'd have to
even though you
look
took
at that.
the resolution and said, we're funding this project for the benefit of the city, and then we'd like it to come back in. Okay.
It
that's-
seems to me we'd have to be approved by SBCAG, and I'm not sure they would do that.
What about reallocation from within the boundaries of Measure A? So I'm going to take away from sidewalk concrete repairs and put it in multi-purpose trails or whatever, after we've already approved the measure.
I think so long as it's within the alternative transportation, these general categories,
Okay.
that should be okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other questions? Then I'm going to open it up to the public. I don't have any speaker slips. Did anybody want to speak on this agenda item? Closing public comment, coming back to council for possible action? Comments?
Madam Mayor, move for approval of Resolution 1701. Resolution City Council Buellton adopting the Measure A 5-year local program project for fiscal years 2017-18 through 2021-22.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Linda?
Okay, Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
Councilmember Bauman.
Aye.
Councilmember Connolly.
Aye.
Councilmember Rife.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you very much, guys. All righty, moving on to council member comments. Busy couple weeks. Any comments from anybody? Okay, I've got a couple. I've been very busy. Last Friday, I had the opportunity to go to the Mission to see the aquatic pools, the Olympic-sized pools being blessed, and wanted to thank Councilmember Connolly very much for all of your effort to get these up to the valley. It is so exciting. It was such a wonderful event, and you were an integral part of that. And I truly thank you. It's going to be really big for our valley. I also wanted to say happy birthday to my husband tonight. And I wanted to congratulate one of our employees, John Sanchez, 35 years with the city.
Wow.
So I just, congratulations. That's it.
Good.
No, he's still got hair.
John's got
John's got plenty of hair.
It's great. It's great.
He isn't
but it's
working
just
hard
got-
enough, that's why.
Okay, moving on to council items. Does anybody have any council items they want to bring forward? I am requesting from our city manager that perhaps we can get our lead contractor with Caltrans, Kathy DeGrazia, to come to council and explain to us what's going on our 246.
Absolutely, and Rose, during my report, will give us a little briefing from what we have knowledge available. But
Terrific.
Rose will contact her and we'll arrange her to come.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. No other items? Moving on to written communications.
No, ma'am?
Committee reports. Any committee reports?
None yet.
Okay, I got just a couple. Tuesday, Wednesday, I had the opportunity to go up to Sacramento for Legislative Day. We are trying desperately to get transportation funding. SB1, AB1, or the governor's bill will take anything to help us get some more funding to fix roads in the county and to help with the 101 widening. So I brought this. I don't know if anybody, it was the schedule that we had. They think it's about a 60% chance of passing. They would like the city of Buellton to send a letter of support for SB1.
I did receive that from Margie Kim, so I'll be putting something together tomorrow and getting it in the mail.
Thank you very much. They say if it's not done by April 6th, when they go on their break, that it probably will not happen for another 3 years.
Yeah.
And Santa Barbara County desperately needs some additional state funding. I also had a Central Coast Collaborative meeting with the homelessness this morning, and this is their report. They did a time count, January 26th. It's got all of the, it's amazing, the breakdown. Santa Maria, there are approximately 338 homeless people, 25 volunteered to be surveyed. They break it down to sex, where they're living, their ethnicity, their ages. You'd be happy to know our valley had one person, and that was Sam behind Albertsons. Anyway, so if anybody wants to see that, that's where I was this morning. And you didn't have nothing?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All righty. Moving on, business items. Business item number 4, resolution number 17-02, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, imposing a 3-hour parking limit on the east side of the 200 block of Avenue of Flags. Ms. Hess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Member City Council. So at the last council meeting, there was a request to review the parking situation at the 200 block of Avenue Flags. Generally speaking, this is in the frontage of the Ellen's Pancake House restaurant. There had been issues for all the parking that has been there all day being used by park and ride vehicles. So what we provided for you tonight is a little background on the Ellen's parking. Attachment 1 shows an exhibit that was the original parking configuration for Ellen's Pancake House. Was provided pre-cityhood in 1986. It shows 288 parking spaces with 6 additional spots at their site. Parallel parking was available along the frontage of Avenue of Flags. In those prior years, Ellen's Pancake had the approval of the adjacent property owner, whose land was undeveloped, to utilize their lot as additional parking spaces, not marked or improved or anything, but just to be able to park vehicles there. Recently, the property has been sold, and the current owners no longer allow overflow parking onto their property, as they're currently working to develop their land. A map of the parcels to give you an idea of what the location are is provided in attachment 2. You'll see the area that's highlighted in yellow is the proposed development. And there's that little rectangular piece, I think it's labeled B, and the left side is where the vacant piece of property that the patrons at Ellen's used to park on. To give you just a brief history as far as additional parking, in 2000, 2001, that's when Caltrans signalized the intersection of Highway 246 and Avenue of Flags. So as part of the intersection improvements, the medians and islands were installed. And pretty much the layout that you see now is what was incorporated. And this included 19 diagonal parking spaces along the frontage, so that changed it from parallel to diagonal to give additional parking. 2006, additional modifications were made. That included removal of a portion of the buffer island to allow truck access for delivery trucks, and also an addition of ADA access from the diagonal parking lot areas. Excuse me. So the current on-site parking lot provides 5 parking spaces, with one of the 5 being an ADA space. And all the parking on-site and off-site is regularly full. So unfortunately, although we have park and ride facilities, there isn't a way to currently regulate that within this diagonal parking, because it is a public parking area, unless we do regulate and restrict the parking time period in that location. So what we've done is prepared the document with the resolution, should council choose to move forward with that, for a 3-hour maximum time limit for parking the diagonal spaces on Avenue of Flags. You have the discretion, however, to change that to other time limits that you feel may be more appropriate, or leave it at the 3-hour recommendation. As part of the improvements, if council does move forward, we would be marking the curbs green with the time-hour restrictions on there, and as well as installing wheel stops that are painted green as well to help reinforce that area. Staff did notify with the mailer regarding potential for this limitation surrounding this property area, about 300 feet. That includes to businesses and to the property owners as well. There's only a minor fiscal impact because for the installation of the wheel stops and painting the curbs, but it's less than $5,000, so it's very minimal than ongoing maintenance, which we would schedule with our road projects. So with that, staff recommends approval of Resolution 17-02, should council decide to move forward with the resolution.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Director Hess?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still not completely understanding the genesis of why he only got 5 parking spaces.
I don't have any more information for the original development of the project.
That was done in the county before the city was incorporated, and we really don't have any records showing the number of spaces.
And he's not here.
No.
Right.
So I guess I'd ask him if he's going to open a restaurant, well, I only want to have 5 parking spaces.
You know, a lot of the old uses, that's what they did back in the day, and there was the street parking that was used. It wouldn't be allowed nowadays as far as, you know, those types of things, but that's just what they had.
No, I understand, but we're talking about, is it $5,000 is what the estimate was? Is that right?
It would be less than that, because we're talking about just signage and paint marking.
You also have removing trees and irrigation. I don't know how much we paid M&S to go out and do this study.
We wouldn't be removing trees or irrigation.
I thought I saw that in here, possible. Install new curb and cobble is needed. Remove trees, irrigation, curb, plant signs, place AC, paving, and stripe in that middle, in the parking divider.
No, that, I believe...
That was on page 28.
No, I think that was the previous projects.
Yeah,
What you're looking,
Right.
you're looking for as a budget, it's $5,000 to install wheel stops and paint curbs. That's all
Okay,
would be occurring.
thank you.
We're doing cobblestone.
Yeah. Any other questions of Director Hess before I open up open this up to the public? All righty. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No.
So can I ask why we put these diagonal spaces in here? I mean, before we change it all, why were the, like, I know we might not be able to answer all the questions, but I'd like to know the genesis of these things before we go and change it. I assume it was put in place. I'm sure there was thought and effort put into why there's diagonal parking there now and why there isn't hours, and I don't know. Like, why is there so much parking along the avenue right in that spot? Just in case?
No, I believe it was to maximize parking space because the spaces were already being full, and you only had, so like you said, there's only so many spaces on site, and it was parallel parking. So when they redesigned the intersection to signalize it, they used that opportunity to maximize parking spaces along the frontage, which would be diagonal spaces.
Madam Mayor, I remember when John opened that, the county's rule of thumb was you had to provide a parking space for every 300 square feet of customer area. And that, but on the other side, because they didn't physically have space for that, it wasn't required over where Mother Hubbard's is, but he was he came in after they had said you have to provide parking. And I think that's where I don't know why I thought he told us before they gave him 6, he was told he could have 6 spaces when he appeared here. I thought he said they limited, his new owners told him he could only have 6 spaces. I thought that's what I remembered hearing. But I think that's how that number came up. You wanted to know, you just inherited it, and it's been there ever since.
No, so it looks like in the original plan, he purposely took up a bunch of his land for the building and chose to put only the 5 or 6 spaces in. That's the way I'm reading the plot plan.
Okay.
Which plot plan are you looking
The
at?
picture of the page 25, where it says Ellen on-site parking plan, 1986. Right, so looks like he had that lot. He met some kind of parking requirement was required, and he decided to put those, however many.
Billy might know. The adjacent property.
I get it. I mean, I'm not sure.
Alrighty.
I'm not sure it really matters.
No, well, why don't we move on? I'm going to open public comment. I have one speaker slip. I don't know if Mr. Hale wants to turn one in or not, but this one is for Finn. If you'd please step up.
Finn Runge, 546 Blue Blossom. I agree with the 3-hour or maybe 2-hour limit, because I always see it full. But then, when this is enforced now, what's going to happen across the street from Taco Roco and in front of Mother Hubbard's and in front of the Pea Soup? Maybe signs need to put there too, with the owner's permit or whatever. But the parking is very hard to come by. So the more restrictions on that, the better.
Thank you very much. I don't have any other speaker slips. Did anybody else want to step up and give their 2 cents? I'm closing public hearing, coming back to council for comments and possible action.
I share Finn's comment. Having been in that business, I think 2 hours would be ample. Most places are 90 minutes. San Luis Obispo, other communities that have very tight parking, but without the applicant here, and if he asked for 3, we probably shouldn't be thinking for him, but I think 2 does that business a better purpose than letting 3 hours be blocked.
And you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I would actually counter that a little bit by saying that if the purpose is to prevent the all-day parking for the park and ride, 3 hours will accomplish that. But it'll also give people an opportunity to walk around, possibly do some retail shopping or something else, rather than just for that particular business. So
Okay.
I'd be a little bit against trying to shorten the hours.
Okay.
Now, see, I have totally different. I have a hard time with the city doing this. I think we're setting a precedent. I agree with Finn. If we have the 2-hour parking, then these commuters may go across the street to Taco Roco, and then Taco Roco's going to come to us, and they're going to want their 2 or 3 hour limit, and then they'll move down to Mother Hubbard's, and they'll be coming to us. I have a really hard time with city taking care of private business. I think what I would like to see, and the other question, of course, is enforcement. You put a 3-hour, who's going to go and mark the tires and come back and check them in 3 hours? I mean, honestly, we don't have the capabilities of even monitoring this. Rita the meter maid?
Rita the meter maid.
I think we're getting into a can of worms here. What I would rather see is in our next Buellton Buzz, that I'd be happy to put it out in the mayor's notes that if the commuters, I had breakfast there last Friday, and there was plenty of parking at 9 o'clock. I drove by today at 11:30. There was plenty of parking. I drove down to the park and ride. There were 5 open spots there. And there's parking along 246 by the park and ride. If we can just get the word out that we want commuters to park in the park and ride or as close as possible so that they don't interfere with local business, I think that that's our fix. At least it's the first attempt. If that doesn't work, then we could certainly come back and work on green curbs and wheel stops and all this other stuff. But I'm really worried that once we start it here, we're going to end up...
Snowball.
Yeah, we're setting a whole new precedent here. That's my concern.
So you're not on board with the green initiative then?
You know, I think we got enough green on the avenue. I think we've got enough green on the avenue. I understand, the farthest I'm willing to bend is to put maybe a couple signs up directly in front of his restaurant that have the arrows pointing, 2-hour, 3-hour parking Monday through Friday. But again, there's no enforcement for this. We don't have any officer who's going to come and write up tickets. So it's going to look messy. It's going to irritate people. If we could just go about it from a down-home approach and see if that works first, that's the way I would want it handled.
I like that phased approach.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't
Well,
need
does
a,
anybody else have any other comments?
Yeah, I forgot one thing.
Certainly, Fen, step up.
In the parking lot, on the bottom of McMurray, to the right-hand side, right behind the new People Helping People, there's an empty lot there in front of the water installation.
Storage tank.
That, I don't know who owns it, and I don't know if that could be turned into a maybe temporary park and ride lot, and it can be publicized that there is one there, so there won't be any problem.
well,
And we are working.
we are looking at it, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, we have one planned on the north end by Hanada Park Road where that storage facility is.
Yeah?
Right across the street. That's eventually going to be a park and ride as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I think there's council consensus, and I'll work with the mayor on writing an article. The buzz is coming out later this month, so if we can work with you on getting the wording and see how it works.
Is that the consensus on council?
I think so.
Okay, thank you.
It's a good idea.
Okay, now moving on to business item number 5, discussion regarding process to fill council vacancy. Ms. Reed?
Honorable Mayor and council members, as you know, Councilmember Bauman is planning to move out of Buellton in the next few months, unfortunately.
Low, huh?
Yeah, state law requires that the city council take action to fill the council seat by either appointing a person to serve the remainder of Councilmember Bauman's term or by setting a special election to elect a resident to serve out the term, which ends December 2018. So council needs to decide what they want to do within the next 60 days. It would be appropriate for the council to discuss their options, and if the consensus is an appointment process, direct staff how they'd like to identify potential appointees. Attached to the staff report is a sample application for appointment, and in the past we've advertised the opening in the San Ynez Valley News, and we'd accept applications to close of business on April 3rd and bring this item back for interview and a possible appointment on April 13th. The appointment process has no fiscal impact to the city. However, according to county elections as of yesterday, a poll-based special election is estimated to cost $62,000. Mail-based election is estimated at $42,000. So quite pricey. Staff recommends that the council discuss the appointment process for filling the council member Bauman's vacant seat and direct staff to advertise the opening. And that concludes the staff report. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you very much. First of all, any questions for Ms. Reed?
Any questions?
Okay, then let's open it up to public hearing. I don't have any speaker slips. Did anybody want to speak regarding this agenda item? Closing public hearing. Councilmember Connolly, your comments?
It seems to me the appointment process has worked pretty well in the past. Perhaps that's how I said it, because I know I was able to make it on that
It was
one.
a great
Easy for you to
appointment,
say. So we're great.
That was a good appointment, huh?
That assumes we all like you or something.
We're good for him.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least I made it through the next election process, but I can't imagine charging the taxpayers all that money. I think that we have a pretty clairvoyant view in regard to potential candidates, and I think we have a capable council that can help determine who that next person might be. And certainly it would take them to the next election period when Councilmember Bauman's election's up anyway. So I certainly would be in support of a nomination process if the rest of the council felt the same way.
Any other comments? Yeah. I spoke to when I was in Sacramento, I was talking to, from Goleta, Michael Bennett. He said that the last vacancy they had, that they had set up it's in their rules and regs exactly what happens. Of course, that could be changed anytime council changes, but I think that might be something, I mean, we should move ahead with this, but perhaps in the future, we should have it written down, a directive of exactly how we want to do this.
Yeah, that's probably a good
So,
idea.
so the, I guess
That's just consensus. and-
I agree with what you're saying, Linda, that we're going to take applications until, did you say the 3rd?
April 3rd,
April
correct.
3rd.
Close of
And then
business.
it will come back to council on the meeting of the 13th.
Correct.
Councilmember Bauman's last day with us, and a selection can be made at that time.
What's your last day?
First meeting of April.
Yeah, the 13th.
We're leaving town.
And-
Sound good, guys?
In that way, we don't have any gap with a council meeting. So the next meeting, the person would take over, so you'd still have the 5.
Terrific. All righty. Let that be so.
Okay, and I'll put that application up on the website tomorrow, and we'll have it
Yeah.
at City Hall as
Yeah.
well.
And everybody looked at the attachment, the questions, everything seems appropriate? Nobody needs to change anything? Okay. All righty.
Now, so when the candidates come forward, perhaps they might walk up and express to the council why they may choose to be elected.
We'll grill them from up
Appointed.
here.
Grill them.
Yeah.
And, Council Member Bauman can be on that for that as well?
Something to discuss, yeah.
Okay,
I'm working with the city attorney whether it would be appropriate for Councilmember Bauman to participate or not.
copy that.
All righty. Thank you very much, Linda.
Thank you.
City Manager's report.
Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, if you notice, we have Chanel Zamora, a revenue specialist, in attendance, and she is the finance director in training. And training is going very well, and hopefully July 1st will be her first official day as finance director. So I just welcome her, and she will be attending council meetings to get that experience as well and making presentations. So.
Congratulations. Thank you.
And I'll turn it over to Rose just to give a quick briefing on all the excitement going on along Highway 246 before we get to Caltrans representative in.
So, as you can see, Caltrans has finally started their CAP-M project. And just to recap, their CAP-M started as just a road maintenance project that was grind and overlay, grind and repave, I should say, of Highway 246 between Drum Canyon, Dominguez Road to Highway 101. They added, before it even came to us, the ADA ramp improvement projects, and they've added our sidewalk project and drainage improvements and road paving in between Avenue Flags and Highway 101. So their contractor for the job is Granite Construction. We did meet with them last week. We don't have a construction schedule. They have one that they submit as part of their pre-con work with Caltrans, but that's scheduled because of the rain delays and also other issues with utility companies. They've kept that because they have to resubmit something new. So both the city and Caltrans does not have an updated schedule. What we do know is they're working on the handicap ramps first, doing the demo, all of that work within the city, and they'll be pouring shortly after. And then they're still working with utility companies. At this point, we believe they're going to do the pavement section within the city first, and then do the pavement outside of the city limits last, because they have some environmental issues out there they don't want to. I think it's a tiger salamander or something. They have to be away from that area.
Salamander.
Yeah, so we will request that their project manager, Kathy DeGrazia, come at the next council meeting if she's available to give a more specific update, and maybe we'll have a schedule at that time. We do have contact information that they said we can give residents if there's issues or concerns. They're coordinating with us because there's a couple of areas that we need to work with them to relocate push buttons and also to raise fire hydrants. So we'll get that work underway. What we'll be doing is particularly for the sidewalk improvements. We have Caltrans is putting that in with the cobbles and everything. They're putting in the conduit for our pedestrian lamps. And the cities, we've put out an informal request for bids for the lamp purchase and installation. So we don't have to wait through their entire complete project to be completed. When they get to the point where they've completed all the conduit and sidewalk work and pavers in the section we need to put the PED lights, they're going to allow us to go in shortly thereafter that. So we'll be able to follow along.
Thank you. And maybe I missed it. We had asked that they start by 101, and work back towards Riverview. Do we know yet?
They started on Riverview and worked that way.
Well, of course.
Yeah. But they are doing the portions within the city first before they go outside of the city limits.
Well, I guess that's a plus, huh?
Yes.
All right, I'm
How
sorry.
far are they going to go then, beyond this? I thought this
Dominguez, Drum
project-
Road.
Okay, but our project has a timeline, it'll be finished before they leave town, do you think?
We hope.
Yeah, it's one contiguous project for them. I don't know how everything's all phased out, but that's what we were
I think they're going to
told in
be
the meeting.
paving, they could be paving
They're going to,
here all the way to Dominguez Road at one time?
not at one time, I'm sure they're going to do it in sections, but they're doing all the concrete work
Right, I
first.
saw the concrete, but I was going to ask the time frame because I heard someone talking about it, I think it was on a news show, a talk show, a local talk show, and they were talking about so many days.
It was 6 to 9 months for their entire construction schedule.
So the 6 to 9 starts from
By the end of the
about 2
year.
weeks
Last
ago.
Friday, yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's just about the end of the year. Okay.
And just to remind Councilmember Bauman and Mayor Sierra, there's an important Library Advisory Committee meeting next week regarding possible increase of admin fees from Santa Barbara. So
From 9 to 18%.
Yes.
When is that?
that's Wednesday, I believe.
So-
Wednesday at,
I have a problem with that, too. I had sent you an email. I don't know if we
Okay.
can
I
appoint somebody else
haven't-
to that committee.
and I'm meeting with the city manager of Santa Barbara beginning of April to go over that along with the carpentry and solvang. But
Yeah.
the Library Advisory Committee is meeting on
They're
that.
trying to get rid of Goleta as well.
Yeah.
So Goleta, there's possibilities.
Anyway, I just wanted to make,
Thank you.
keep that on your radar.
Oh, boy.
We do have the new computer laptop for the presentation, so Silvio, our audio-visual guy, is going to configure that so we can get the PowerPoints on screen. American Medical Response is taking over the portion of the downstairs next to Patty Bakes for meeting rooms, conference rooms, as well as quarters for the ambulance. So we'll have an ambulance based in Buellton, so they won't always have to fight going through the flats when it's crowded. So we'll have somebody over here, and that'll be where they're staged from. Just update the council and the community that we are going into escrow tomorrow on the residential property at 480 Central. So that'll be 45-day escrow, and we'll let you know how that goes. The audits for both the regular audit and the private projects is on the website and available and out. And next meeting, we'll have presentations on how we do code enforcement as well as our emergency procedures.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I guess with that, I am adjourning our meeting. I'll see you all next Thursday, March 23rd at 6